more stuff coming out. I was just reading during the break about this the shooter. It's so interesting that here was a guy who was an IT contractor, and yet he had a very low profile on, like, he didn't leave a long electronic trail behind him. They said it was...
Oh, no social media at all that anyone has found so far.
Right. He's only been in Washington for several days, left Fort Worth 4 months ago. It said recent days he was staying at a hotel, he and 5 co-workers working on this project down at the Navy Yard. So just got here, and they think he may have been told that he was going to lose his job. Maybe that was what set him off. I don't use that word.
He had lost a job with the Navy.
Oh, yeah.
In 2011, potentially stemming from him shooting off a gun in his apartment through the floor of his upstairs neighbor.
He said he was cleaning his gun and it accidentally went off, but the woman who lived upstairs, he had complained about too much noise coming from her apartment. So.
She thought it was very menacing.
Yeah. Every time you have a situation like this, there are always a lot of questions. And with this one, it seems like there are just more questions that haven't been answered yet of who this guy was, where he came from, why he did what he did, what kind of profile he kept. It's very, very murky.
What was the scene like yesterday at the Navy Yard when you went down there?
Well, so all throughout the neighborhood, when this was breaking, police sirens and fire truck sirens were just screaming and going in that direction.
You live like 2 blocks from the Navy Yard.
Well,
right?
I live more than 2 blocks, but pretty close. And I was able to walk there in a few minutes. And police were not allowing people to drive past I Street Southeast. But you could walk pretty much right up to the Navy Yard. And reporters were just standing there with people who had come to work and had either not been able to get in or had been in the building and in the room where this guy was shooting up the place, and they fled.
In the room? Meaning the atrium? Or
right, apparently there is this sort of big open space, and he may have been leaning over a railing on the 4th floor and shooting down into this cafeteria or this atrium
like
space.
Shooting, the old phrase, shooting fish in a barrel, right?
Right.
So people come to work. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. They had just blown the bugle or reveille or whatever they do at this military facility, I read. And the people come in and they go to the food court. They're getting their coffee, they're getting their muffins or whatever, right, to eat there or take up to their... So that there are a lot of people there at that time. And, he went up to the 4th floor and just shot down on them.
Yeah, one person told me the first thing she heard was people saying, he's got a gun, or someone's got a gun. And then the shots were ringing out. And another person said it sounded as if, shot, shot, shot. And then more shots in response to that. But we don't know if it was just this guy, Alexis, or... There's a strange lookout for 2 other people for most of yesterday. And then the police said, well, it's a white guy in a tan uniform and a black guy in a green uniform. And then they mysteriously said later, we found the white guy, not looking for him anymore.
Right.
But we're still looking for this other person. He has gray sideburns and he's in his 50s. But something about this lookout is sort of casual.
Yeah,
like they're
I agree. Very weird.
My wife was asking me, is it safe for me to go jogging or is there a mass shooter walking around? And I said, I don't think there is a mass shooter walking around. They said they're looking for this person, but they're not acting at all as if a maniac is out there with a gun.
I understand there's 2 different stories and 2 different situations, but if you look at the Boston Marathon bombing, they shut Boston down for the entire day when they thought that there was a murder on the loose. And if there is a shooter out there with an automatic weapon walking the streets of Washington, you would think that they would take a little more precaution than to just say, there might be a guy out there.
No, it was strange. I mean, they shut down the Navy Yard, which you certainly understand, because that's where the shooting took place, and they didn't know at the time how many might be there. But then all this area between the Navy Yard and like where we are was not shut down. I went to the White House. White House was perfectly business as normal. A lot of security there always, but no more than. And then you jump across, and the offices of the members of the House of Representatives, the House office buildings, and then the United States Capitol. That was all. Again, there's always a lot of security there, but that was not locked down. And then you go on the other side of the Capitol and the Senate office building, they locked down.
That was weird. Because
Yeah.
you could just walk through the Senate into the House and leave from that building.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
Navy Yard, I mean, it was not as if they locked down an outside space. It was the campus and
The
the
campus,
buildings. And
exactly,
we were just
right.
standing on the other side of a parking lot and looking into the windows of the building where the shooting happened. And you could still see all morning the flashing of the emergency fire alarm going off.
Oh, really?
So we were kind of close to it.
Yeah.
It was not as if they thought someone was roaming the streets or, not in that building who they were worried about.
I'm amazed you were able to get that close.
Yeah.
Maybe it
really.
is just that this is their strategy. If they think someone got away, they're going to not act like they're freaking out so that
Yeah.
that person doesn't change his behavior. I don't know.
We played a little earlier, Arthur, from Herb Williams, who was in Building 197. You also talked to Dave Stevens. Here's your little conversation with him.
That's when I left the building there, but by that time there had been at least 10 or 12 shots at that time.
And how far apart were all the shots?
They were, the first bursts were really rapid, one after the other, and then there was a pause of a couple minutes maybe, and then, like I said, another half dozen shots after that. And after that is when I got out of the building.
So these were people, they were in that building, in
Yeah.
Building 197. And what did they do? They just ran out the closest door? What did they tell you?
Yeah, they headed for the stairwell, and that's where people were running out. And then I think a lot of people spent the day in a parking garage underground just waiting. My colleague Jen Bendery interviewed somebody who locked himself in his office, and he said he was hearing this shooting going on for an hour. So we still don't really have a picture of exactly what was happening. Apparently, the guy brought one gun in, and then was shooting people and taking their guns. If it was just this one person.
Right.
If it was multiple people, who knows? But there's so little known about the motive, so little known about how exactly it went down. We're just beginning to get the names of the victims, and I know at Huffington Post we're going to spend the day reaching out to families and friends of those people and telling their stories while law enforcement allows the story of this shooting to sort of trickle out.